daar zijn we. Even wat skill. Kijk, een skill doet u hetzelfde als vorig jaar. De vossen. Ah, de ene van ding moet er ook nog bij. Door nu weg.
Hier, weg van de parents.
Ivanov. Slek.
Van voren van Topsport Vlaanderen en Arno Groen. En Arno Groen is van Kanselij, daar rijdt hij in ene laatste positie. En die mannen die hebben de IJzerbosweg net gehad, die rijden door Trintelen, dat is een eindje er voorbij.
Langs de linkerver weglopen, gaat de koers dragen. In zijn wiel zitten 2-3 mannen van Skil Shimano. Man van de Saxobank helemaal aan de linkerzijde.
Het hele peloton nog netjes te staan natuurlijk. En ze beginnen nu voor de eerste keer van die daar aan de lijn zat, 4 minuten 22, dat was de dag. Het was in ieder geval een lange slanke van Rabobank die daar een peloton op sleeptouw neemt. En inmiddels komen we aan 5 minuten.
Als dat inderdaad Lars Boom was, dan weten we dus dat Lars Boom zal worden uitgespeeld. Hier opgevraagd wordt aan die postkoersbal naar boven komen. Dat is de peloton aanvoeren. De peloton dat dus toch wel een klein beetje aan verleken is. Er zijn een paar mannen die wat daar moeten laten lopen.
Ja, we zien dat.
Zijn daar. Ja, daar. Ja, saxobank. Oh. Slecht. Willem zijn er. Passato, ja. Dat is de woordpogen. Hè? Dat is een van de dingen van de saxobank. Nee, nee. 71.
Ik vind dat er verzachtende omstandigheden zijn. Hij heeft in de omloop, het Nieuwsblad heeft hij verschrikkelijk goed gereden. Ja, 23 lekke banden had hij. Koers erop, ook goed, ook weer van allerlei pech. En in de E3-prijs is hij 3 keer gevallen.
Ja, maar het leven bestaat niet alleen maar uit een schoteltje.
Dan moet je nog in de Kouberg.
Nu al. Tot hier was het dus voor hem.
Hij voelde waarschijnlijk dat hij niet goed was. En dan denkt hij, ik ga hem nog even voor die ploeg. Hij heeft wel heel veel op kop gereden. En heeft dat 3 minuten af.
Maar goed, Sebastian, je zit nog vlakbij hem waarschijnlijk, bij Boom. Laat hij helemaal lopen.
Wij zitten er inderdaad direct achterna. Hij probeert het nog wel om terug te keren. Het verschil naar de achterkant van het peloton is maar een meter of 25 voor Lars Boom. Maar die nu trouwens weer uit het zadel gaat en nog een keer aanzet. Het valt een beetje stil in het peloton op die Sibbegrubbe. Waar ze in het begin gewoon met 40 km per uur door dat bosgedeelte omhoog reden. Maar Boom die zit dan weliswaar tussen de auto's. Maar het ziet er niet goed uit voor Lars Boom.
Hij heeft dat bekende gebaar ook al gemaakt. Eigenlijk heet dat het kruis eroverheen geven. En de camera kan dit als laatste... Maar ja, hij wil...
Ja, zijn er al, hè. Dat is een breed, hè. Ja. Dingen. Hier, dat is Chavanel.
Philippe!
Sergio Steve Cosa of Garmin Transitions on the front doing the work now. They've got a decent team here today. Amazing how many teams have managed to put something decent together to come here, despite the fact that some guys couldn't come on planes. Some of the big names that aren't here, by the way, there is no Carlos Sastre from Cervelo Test Team, he couldn't make it. No Alejandro Valverde, no Samuel Sanchez, no Bradley Wiggins. All of those not being able to fly in from Spain, either Girona or Madrid or wherever they are. There's also no Vicente Reines, no Luis from HTC Colombia. They haven't made it either, but some heroic drives by others. Javier Tondo, for example, drove 1,800 kilometers to get here from Girona. Right, we'll take a short break while we can. We'll try and pack him in early before the action comes. Welcome back, live pictures here. We've less than 60 kilometers to go now. And the peloton beginning to motor. They have 3 men who've gone up the road chasing the initial break. The break initially, remember, Vals, Schierling, Rolich, Delfos, Coupon, Van Vuren and Van Groen. They went away. They've now been chased, or there's 3 riders away from the peloton, not hardly chased. I think there's still quite about 4 minutes between them. Belmakers, Timmer and Preben van Heck have moved out ahead of the peloton. I'm not quite sure they'll stay out there. The peloton is beginning to move. Well, in the box next to me, my let me get this right. 1, 2, 3, my 4th co-commentator of the week, and I'm really pleased that we can welcome back to the box Graham Jones. Nice to see you again.
Yep, it's a pleasure to be back, and as long as I'm not 4th choice, it's just just hope it's just happened to work out that way.
It's just happened to work out that way. And Nicky Terpstra, the big Dutchman, has doubled his duties on the road with riding on the track as well. Not this year in the World Championships, but last year's World Championships on the track he rode. He's got lovely styles, good time trialist, good in this sort of situation. Graham, you've ridden this race, the Amstel Gold Race. It didn't, when you were riding, it didn't finish on the Coburg like it does now, but essentially it's the same race. And what is the nature of this race in terms of topography? If somebody's watching it for the first time, how would you describe it?
I would probably sort of say it's somewhere in between sort of Liège-Bastogne-Liège and the Tour of Flanders, in sort of the level of difficulty of the climb, the length of the climbs, but it doesn't have the cobble climbs that the Flanders has. So, but it's somewhere in between in terms of terrain. It's lots of small roads, it's right turns, left turns, lots of traffic calming. It really is a tricky race. It's one race where you do have to stay near the front.
It's, as you say, lots of twists and turns, isn't it? The race originally sort of trying to link up all the Amstel breweries in the Limburg region bit now, because as they come onto the Bemmelerberg, these 3 riders ahead of the peloton, they are sandwiched between the peloton and the breakaway. We'll go through those in just a second. And Terp's just trying to come up to them. It hasn't got very far away from the peloton at the moment, though. If you want to catch the last stage of the Tour of Turkey, which has been really interesting racing, to be honest, in the last 3 or 4 days, it initially started off quite slowly, but it's really built into a cracking race. And a big stack yesterday when Bert Grapch went piling into the last corner and there simply wasn't an exit line. And being the tester he is, grabbed a bit too much of the front brake, I think, and we ended up in the barriers. Now Terpstra continues to try and get away from the peloton. Look at the crowds here, and we've still got a whole load of climbs to come. We are on the Bemmelerberg with 59 kilometers to go. Then it's the Wolfsberg, the Luurberg, the Gulpenberg, Kreuzberg, Eisbosberg, Fromberg, Keutenberg, and then the Coburg again. So still a load to go. What's the nature of the hills here? What are they like?
They're sort of, well, they're a mixture. Some of the climbs are really, really very narrow, almost single track roads, and it's all about being placed at the front of the peloton as they hit the bottom of the climb. Nothing much happens. They can be vary from just 200 or 300 meters in length up to longer climbs, longer drags of a couple of kilometers. The Coburg's probably the most famous one, of course, and going up the climb 3 times, and obviously finishing at the top of it like it does, it's probably going to be the most important climb of the day. But it's just a succession. It's never ending. It's a change of rhythm. You're constantly changing gears and switching direction. And also, what we forget, I mean, it's not playing a part so much today, but the crosswinds can play a little bit of part in this race as well, but it's not really having much effect today.
What sort of riders does this suit? We've seen all sorts of riders triumph on here over the years. I mean, people who are good sprinter climbers, like the very first Belgian winner, for example, Guido Reybrouck, a very good sprinter, but also a good climber. We know that people like Frank Schleck have won here as well. It's clearly climbers and not sprinters. Is it an all-rounders course?
I think it is an all-rounders course. I mean, we've seen the sort of punchy sort of climbers, as in like Cunego and that sort of rider, and Rebellin is obviously always very strong on an uphill finish. We've also seen previously, before it did finish at the top of the Coburg, you know, even people like Jan Raas, who are capable of winning races, classics on their own or in bunch sprints. And I mean, I can remember riding one year, even Bernardino, who very rarely ventured to this race, actually won it in quite a big group sprint.
This is your lead group. It's the first time we've seen the breakaway group here at any significant length of time. 3:24 is the gap that they've got at the moment. They are Rafael Valls of Voeten-Serveto, or was Rafael Valls of Voeten-Serveto.
I think he's the one that has dropped out.
We had news of one had dropped out, and we were taking bets on who it was. I'm pleased to say
you were correct.
I won a few quid there. That's good. Staff Shearlings of Omega Pharma Lotto, former Cofidis rider, of course, and I think he rode for Landau at one point. Peter Rolich of Milram in the blue and white. Seb Delfos of Landau Credit, right at the back there in the black, green, and yellow. Thierry Hubon from Skill Shimano. We've been used to seeing that, of course, if you've been watching Tour Turkey. That's a Skill Shimano jersey, but it isn't him. Steven van Vuren of Top Sport Vlaanderen and Arno van Groen of Vakon Soleil. This is the group that's trying to get across to them at the moment. Another three riders. Belbakker's at the front there in the green and white. Herman van Heck in the Top Sport Vlaanderen colours, which is the one in the middle. Dark shorts, white jersey. At the back, Skill Shimano's Albert Timmer. Good sprinter, Timmer. Good all-rounder. But you can see the nature of this road. They're not very wide, some of the roads here either, are they? Just sweeping backwards and forwards, and they dive down to the bottom of a hill and back up again.
Even when you go through the towns, the roads aren't very wide in Holland nowadays, with the amount of traffic calming islands and bollards. I can remember watching I think it was the Giro, the Welter that's been through there the last few years, and thinking 200 riders, and I've just having my eyes shut sometimes.
Nice.
Really been the proudest moments of my career, but yeah, I came back and rode in Britain for a couple of years, especially when it was actually at its heights with the city centre races and the Kellogg's Tour, and the Nissan started, of course, around that time.
And you're back on your bike now?
I try to ride my bike as much as I can, but I'm so busy travelling around the country and all over the place at the moment with various projects, mainly the Tour of Britain, of course, but it's difficult, and I love riding it when I can. Yeah.
Good.
I or not, but I certainly think we might see one or two of their riders later on in the race.
Yep, I would assume they are keeping the powder dry. Just look at listen to the rundown for Katusha. Sergei Ivanov, last year's winner, of course, is the winner of stages in the Tour as well. Sergei Klimov, we know he's really strong. Alexander Kolovnev, double medalist now in the World Championships, winner of stages in Paris-Nice, super strong. Luca Mazzanti, an excellent all-round rider. Pipo Pozzato, we know he's coming back to better form. Joaquim Rodriguez, super for this sort of finish. Maxime Vemtom and Edvard Vorganov. So a really strong team, for my money. He's in a training camp. There's been a few bending of the rules, really, hasn't there, about starting places here on the Amstel Gold, purely because some of the riders just haven't been able to get here.
Well, yeah, there's that. I mean, we have seen from listening to one or two stories that some riders have made the effort and sort of, as it say, got in the car and drove the long distance. I think the record we've seen is Thomas Ficus and Chris Horner, who drove 1,800 kilometres to get here to ride the race. But obviously, some of the bigger riders, like the Valverdes and that, were not going to sit in a car all the way to the Netherlands to ride the race. But yeah, one or two teams have very much short on riders, and I think one is actually breaking the regulations, really, is that they've been given special permission to ride with just 3 riders. You have to have a minimum of 5, and that's the Case d'Arpagne team, and that's obviously understandable, having to come from Spain.
Well, I'm not sure about all this, you know. These Joaquim Rodriguez all have good chance.
Just looking, Cadel Evans there as well, moving towards the front of the bunch.
Again,
another rider who rides, you know, sort of. I was quite pleased that he did actually come and win the World Championships. Gets a lot of criticism for not being aggressive enough, but you know, he's another rider who does ride other races and, you know, and performs in these other races, just not there to participate and sort of be one of the number.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a bike. He wants to ride a bike and race a bike. I'm very pleased for him. As a lot of people know from my particular outbursts during the World Championships. Jakob Fuglsang is the rider on the front for Saxo Bank. They're sharing the work with Lampre here. Look at them all over
just going round a lamppost and things. It just well, it really does make bike racing in this country look a lot easier, actually.
Yes.
It's almost an obstacle course, apart from the 31 climbs they've got to do. There's obstacles as well.
There's a bit of a lull before the storm, really. There's a couple of big climbs. Well, they come in quick succession shortly as we get into the Wolfsberg, the Luhrberg, the Gulpenberg, Kreuzberg, Eisebosberg, Fromberg, Keutenberg, and then onto the Coburg again. So they all come in quite quick succession within the last 40 kilometres. There's those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 climbs. So no respite, and that's of course why they want to bring it back, and they're doing a good job really. 1:45 is the break. They're going to catch them fairly shortly.
Yeah, it's just coming down all the time, and Saxo Bank or Rabobank, pressure on the front of the peloton, and I expect probably we'll see this breakaway back, something in the region of about 25 kilometres to go, and then we'll start to see some attacking from the favourites. Oh, again. It is. It's almost, if there's ever such a thing, we have golf and crazy golf. It's almost a sort of crazy cycling as well.
Yeah, when they get really going for it. So, of the favourites in the list today, and you're pleased to join us wherever you are watching around Europe. There's people watching internationally as well as on British Eurosport back in the UK. You can any questions, any comments with the spokesman is the Twitter feed, spokesman as opposed to man, and it's cycling.eurosport@yahoo.com. Regular email address, regular Twitter feed, and there's also Eurosport UK TV Twitter feed as well. There's Philippe Pozzato in the Italian champions jersey next to Andy Schleck in the Luxembourg champions jersey. Up towards Pozzato wanted to do something today, but maybe a case of too many Chiefs in that team. I'm not quite sure. You can see Sergei Ivanov just at the bottom of your screen. He might pop on in a minute in the Russian champions jersey for Katusha as well. Let's look down at the teams then while we can before it all really kicks off, Graham. Katusha, we've just spoken about there very briefly. We've got Ivanov, Klimov, Kolobnev, Mazanti, Pozzato, Rodriguez, Van Tom and Volganov. That is a super strong squad, and it looks to me as though they could really pull something off today. With 41 kilometres to go, Sergei Ivanov, the defending champion here, the race winner last year, will want his team to start working together, although they don't tend to work together as much of a unit as maybe some of the others. They're very clever at letting other teams do a lot of the work. Your assessment of that run of that team?
Well, as we said earlier, it's a fantastic team, and you have to think that Pozzato is very much his own man and probably will be looking at sort of riding for himself. But Ivanov, of course, last year's winner of the race, has got to be you would think their main protected man, and he's the sort of guy that once he gets a gap, it's very hard to close down. So it's obviously a very strong team.
AG2R Le Mondial, Elmiger, Bouet, Champion, he might be up there a little bit later. Nicolas Roche, also riding here for AG2R Le Mondial. We were talking about him before we came on air. Possible here, or maybe this year, we don't know what sort of form he's in. He started the year pretty well. We haven't seen him up towards the front yet. I'm sure we will. He might be hiding himself. This is the sort of race that Nicolas Roche could win at once.
Yeah, I certainly think that there's a big race, or maybe many more. But I do think that there's a big race victory in Nicolas Roche over the next few years. Whether it's a stage in the Tour, he went very close before, but I think he's got a great future.
Astana, probably the best hopes in Astana is Maxi Miglinski. Andre Grifko is here as well. Grifko, as they're on the Wolfsberg. birthday Maxim, 29 today, Iglinski. He's going well this season, Iglinski.
Yeah, I think he's the only birthday rider we've got, isn't it, today? I think
so.
did catch that somewhere.
Not much hope, I'm afraid, for Case Stepania. They've got Emanuele Viti, winner of a stage in the Volta of Spania a number of years ago, beating Nicholas Roach, if I remember correctly. Vincenzi Garcia Costa, great rider, love him to bits, but again, not the course for him today. And David Lopez, well, he's probably got the best chance of anybody in Case Stepania. Euskaltel, they're without their leader as well. We were just mentioning Case Stepania, Valverde.
Nou, daar is het. Heel veel tonnen, daar. Nee, de rand bekend, de kabelbak. Hier hebben ze. Ja, hier, champion.
Either that or his teammates just glad to hand over his wheel and sort of say, I've had enough for today.
Exactly, that could be the case. Let's look at the riders then who are on the teams who are on the front and why they're there. In terms of rundowns, Rabobank, unsurprisingly, are there because it is a Dutch team and this is the Dutch Classic. Lars Boom and Oscar Freire both have an outside chance, but I think this is a very strong team as well.
It is, yeah.
Lars Boom, Oscar Freire, Robert Hessink, he was, what, third last year, Hessink, I think. Langeveld, another good rider. Paul Martens, very strong.
Sta je stil nu? Kijk. Ben Hermans. Is dat niet Temmerius? Bannenmaker. Binnen?
Like Hessink or Lars Boom up there. But it's a good team, and it's a home team, so...
Yep. Lampre, the other guys riding on the front. Mathieu Bono, Damiano Cunego, Francisco Gavazzi, David Loosley, Manuel Mori, Daniele Petriopoli, Daniele Rigi, and Alessandro Spezialezzi. Spezialezzi, well, we're bound to see him doing some work. Look at the way they're pushing it along here, Lampre. They really want this one to bring it back. Cunego, the man of the moment for this. Although don't discount Daniele Rigi, he's fairly good in this sort of finish. Strong, but not as strong as maybe Katusha or Saxo Bank or Rabobank. Keen to shut it down though. Radio Shack, got a couple of men up here as well, just cannily sitting in here.
Chris Horn has been in good form, hasn't he, recently?
Yes. Top quality victory in the Tour of the Basque Country. Sticking it to Alejandro Valverde, I think, say, in America. Right, we'll take another short commercial break. The gap is well under a minute now for these escape men. .36 kilometers to go. The break is almost over now as they get reeled back in, and desperate to get the car up to him is Lawrence Tendam from Rabobank. Tendam off the back.
I think he's just come for some drink. I think he's after some bottles, possibly take up to the riders or his teammates.
It's a difficult race to do this, isn't it? You know,
Adjust the brake while I get a bit of a push up the climb.
The old magical magic spanner, as I call it. 16 seconds for our breakaway men. They went out at 5 kilometers. They stayed out all the time. We're under 35 kilometers to go. Rafael Valls was the first man to drop off the back from Futon Cerveto. Staff Sheerlinks is driving along at the front at the moment for Omega Pharma Lotto in the white jersey. Rolich of Milram, Delphos of Landbouw Credit, Hupon of Skill, who I think is a very good rider actually, Thierry Hupon from Skill, Steven van Vuren from Topsport Vlaanderen, and Arno van Groen from Vakon Soleil. Another team will really want to do something.
Yeah, do you know, it's just funny you should mention that, but they've ridden the Tour of Britain for the last few years, and a really, really nice team to deal with. And you know, they always race, they're always present in the breakaways, and you know, they don't sort of come and just make up the numbers. Really good team.
Matteo Carrera, a very good all-rounder actually. Arno van Groen, we know, is in the breakaway already. Johnny Hugeland, who sort of ignited the Vuelta a España last year, then had a big dig at the World Championships when representing Holland. Sergei Lagutin, he came from the sort of Mr. Bookmaker and Palmer's tradition. Very good all-rounder. Bjorn Leukemans, who's in super form, although I've got to say he's been a bit of a sitter-on in the last couple of races, but hey, it's got him up to where he needed to be.
Got to be there, haven't you?
Yep, that's right. Marco Mercato, Walter Pols, and Rob Roig riding for Vakon Soleil today. Saxo Bank, Andy Frank Schleck are both there. Andre Steensten's doing very well at the moment. He's in good shape, and maybe he'll be able to pull them up. Radio Shack is Chris Horner, Milram. The return of Fabian Wegman here. I don't expect him to be up towards the finish. He had a busted collarbone. Getting back to race fitness is something a little bit different. What about HTC Columbia? No Reines, no Lewis. They have got Martin and Peter Velits. Marco Pinotti, we know, is going well, and in this sort of finish climb could be okay. I don't know where he is at the moment. Maxime Montfort in good condition. Tony Martin and Albacini. That's a good team. Yes. Despite the fact they've got 2 missing.
It's a reduced squad, but yeah, it's still a very good team, isn't it?
Omega Pharma, Lotto, Christophe Brandt, Mario Arts, and Philippe Gilbert all in with a chance, as well as Jean-Christophe Perrault. Peter Rolich, Race Radio informs us, going off the back of that group, but he's only got 18 seconds to fall back into line with the rest of them. We were just on a commercial break a little bit earlier, and Graham, you were commenting that when this all comes back together, it's all going to explode.
I think, yeah, the elastic's going to break. We've still got all these successive climbs, one after the other, and they really do come thick and fast in this last 30 kilometers or so. So I do expect the elastic to break, and it should be non-stop action all the way to the finish. Still a big bunch at the moment, probably 100 riders still around. I'd expect to. Yeah, I think it must be about 100 riders still in that peloton.
Yeah. Different type of rider you get here to the Cobble Classics for Roubaix, especially in Flanders, where you get some of the same ones, but they do tend to target different races.
Yeah, I think there are riders who can do well in this race who do ride well in Flanders, but as you get nowadays, that riders do tend to concentrate more and not sort of ride every one of the classics, and yeah, they tend to target just a period of maybe 1 week and then go away, have a bit of a rest, and then come back. So, but yeah, no doubt there are riders in Flanders who could do well in this race.
In your day when you were racing, did you have, well, you clearly did, but did you have a program generally in the peloton where when you were riding the classics, you rode all the classics?
Yeah, in the first 2 or 3 years, especially with Peugeot, yeah, it was basically based in Belgium, and you rode all of them subject to your health, and you're not getting ill, of course, that time of the year where everybody's prone to coughs and colds, but yeah, it's usually the same small squad of riders.
Did you look forward to one over another in the classics, or did you look forward to that season, or did you want to wait for the bigger stage race? I was
always much better in the stage races. I preferred that sort of being away, being looked after, and I think stage races always suited me. But there's always something special about the classics that you'd read about as a kid, and just taking part of them in them sometimes was just great.
We saw the World Championship jersey of Cadel Evans. That's Oscar Freire in the orange and blue of Rabobank, making his way up at the outside of the peloton, wanting to get to the front and out of trouble. And as you said, Graham, the best thing is to be in the right place at the bottom of each climb.
Yep, and I think certainly what Friday was making a special effort there to just move up. As I say, a lot of action doesn't really happen on the climbs. It's getting to the bottom of the climb, being in the right position, and it's over the top on the descents and on the small roads that you tend to see the splits.
His director sportive, Eric Decker, wanting to see him ride the Tour of Flanders, but basically he said that Frère has it in his head that he can do much better here at Amstel Gold than ever in the Tour of Flanders. And he's targeted again this year. 3 times a winner of Milan-San Remo, 3 times a world champion. This one's eluded him. Has he got a chance?
I think he's got a chance. I still think it might just be a little bit more. It might suit more of the Cunego type riders as we've seen in the past. I wouldn't rule it out with him. He's such a class rider, and you know, can always pop up. And he's probably, for me, probably he is still the best sprinter at the end of a long race, a long, tough race.
Saw that in Milan-San Remo.
Yeah.
By far the best sprinter.
And I still wouldn't mind betting he's got another world championship in him.
It's incredible, really, when you think about it, isn't it? Still working on the front then are Saxo Bank, Jonas Jorgensen, André Steensen, Didier Laurent, Jakob Fuglsang, Andy and Frank Schleck, Nicky Sorensen, and Lensford in the peloton here today. Really driving this one along now. Lamprey have been contributing to it, but they've got the bit between their teeth here. Frank Schleck, a winner, what, 2006 I think he was, winner.
Yeah, we're just coming up to the Gulperberg, which, if I remember rightly, was, I think, one of the narrow climbs. So that's maybe why that they're really putting their head down and people want to be at the front and in the right place.
String them up before they get there, that's the thing. Like another win for Luxembourg with the Schleck brothers. Andy and Frank, it's Nicky Sorensen, by the way, in the front now doing the work in the black and white of Saxo Bank. The Schlecks will be looking to something today. Andy wearing the Luxembourg Road Race Champions jersey, Frank just in the Saxo Bank colours. Luxembourg had that win through Frank Schleck in 2006, brings them up with, which is amazing, isn't it, that wins. This is one of the few classics that the Italians haven't really dominated over the years. Damiano Cunego took a win in 2008.
Yeah, they've all come fairly recently. Again, I think this is one that goes back to the old traditions of cycling, that the Italians very rarely before the days of the Pro Tour, or the Pro Tour, that they ventured north for these sort of classics. They tended to stay at home, but since the Pro Tour, or probably a little bit before that, they did start to make more inroads into the northern classics, and you've seen most of those wins by the Italians have come over the recent years. Yeah,
there's the last one being 2008 for Cunego, but going back, De Luca, Rebalin, Bartoli, and one here, and that is all.
They've only won 5 in total.
Yep, and
I think Zanini was the first, was he?
I'm not sure actually.
Zanini, 96.
Yes, that's right, Stefano Zanini. I tell you what, I'm sure the Italians would claim that Mauro Gianetti, who's an Italian-speaking Swiss, a year before, and might well have qualified for that. But the winners of Amstel Gold started way back in 1966. John Stablinski was the winner.
I think I've read somewhere recently in one of the magazines that he's quoted it as saying it's the worst organised race that he'd ever ridden. So, really? But I think that was going back to the idea that it joined up all these breweries, and it ended up being a lot longer than they actually thought it should be. And, it was a bit chaotic, but apparently the prize money was fantastic, so that's why they all rode.
And you could still win your weight in Amstel beer. It's not much great. I mean, what you really need to be is like a 17-stone munter.
Talking that, we haven't mentioned this so-called alcohol test.
Oh yes, tell me about the alcohol test.
It's something I picked up earlier, that the police actually did alcohol tests on some of the riders this morning, which I find really strange. So no doubt, I think it was going out on 1 or 2 riders' Twitters. So I'll be interested to see more and hear more about that over the next few days, and what the idea is behind it. And of course, it's ironic that it being sponsored by Amstel Beer, the race. So.
Exactly, yeah. You can still win your weight, as you say, in Amstel. You'd want to sort of get you and your mates on it, on the scales, really.
And you want it in cans rather than bottles, because you get more alcohol. Get
Yeah, that's
beer,
right,
I
yeah.
suppose, wouldn't you?
But unfortunately, they have them in bottles, don't they? Crates of bottles, you get more beer, yeah. The lighter weight packaging. Well thought. Well thought. You think, I like your thoughts. 29 kilometres to go, then they are on the Gulpenberg. Trying to keep it strung out. The pace is nice and high. A few gulps from some of the riders at the back as well, suffering here. But it's Saxo back in the black and white. The orange and blue of
Ja, ze gaan nu aan die gaan er flink tegenaan nu.
Ivanov's well placed.
Very well placed. For the Omega Pharma squad on the far right hand side of your screen, it looks like just a look down. Christoph Brandt, I think. No, Jürgen van den Broek is what I meant to say, sorry. Over the top. But you can see exactly what...
this is where it happens, you see. Nothing's the bunch is still actually together, but once they've turned the right, those riders are now doing 40, 50 kilometres an hour, whereas the guys at the back are still doing 15 kilometres.
Well, that's very interesting to see. That is Joaquim Rodriguez of Katusha here at the back of this group. And that doesn't look good for Rodriguez. Maybe he still thinks he's keeping his powder dry. He was ever so good in the Tour of the Basque Country. Very interesting to see him right the way back at the back of this line. There's nobody there to help him. They've got such a strong squad, Katusha, that it's everyone man for himself, I should imagine, if you're off the back. Right, we'll take a short break with Nicky Sorensen doing the driving on the front for Saxo. Welcome back. While you were away on a break, Sylvain Chavanel has had a puncture. He'll need to get back pretty quickly. The BMC riders, including world champion Cadel Evans, up towards the front. Rabobank now pushing it along. They've got big chances today. They want to do something. Here is Chavanel getting a spare tyre from one of his teammates.
Wrong side of the road, but under the circumstances, you change the wheel wherever you can. But normally you have to change on the. Always have to change wheels on the side of the convoy.
Yeah, but with the amount of furniture and stuff that's around here, it doesn't make any difference, really. I mean, they could be all over the road, can't they?
Yes, as they needs must.
Ten Dam's obviously got back, because he's up at the front now, Lawrence Ten Dam. Slips into the line, very good hard work. The Luxembourgish jersey is that of Andy Schlecht, line 1, 2, 3, 4 back, sitting behind, 5 back, sorry, sitting behind the train of Rabobank, really driving it on now. Jürgen van den Broek looking after Philippe Gilbert there in the blue, light blue helmet with the white jersey of Omega Pharma. Gilbert we haven't mentioned at all, another really strong candidate for today.
Yeah, I think they're just about to, this coming up to the Kreuzberg, so the riders really putting pressure on and making sure that they've got their favourites right up near the front before this climb. This is where it's all going to go.
Yeah, this is a difficult one. Look at the way there's a lot of jostling. There's nerves here, I think. Quite a number of nerves. Nervy riders. Oh, look at the world champion Cadel Evans doing a lot of work on the front here. Wanting to be in the right position for his team. Carsten Kroon, of course, second last year, racing in BMC colours this year. I would imagine that that's who he's working for. He's clearly doing the work. I do like this about Cadell Evans. He doesn't bother him, does it, that he's word. Have they gone around the back of the building?
I don't know where. They either know a shortcut or they've they got caught out there.
I think a number of riders got caught out and gone completely the wrong direction around the back of the buildings, and there's a crash now here. AG2R Le Mondial on the floor.
Mandry.
Oh, René Mandry. The Estonian.
He doesn't look too happy, does he?
No, that doesn't look good at all. Oh dear.
Hopefully the convoy's slowed down enough now for everybody to get around. They'll be aware of that. But just right on that corner, that could have been really dangerous and nasty.
Paramedics in attendance very quickly indeed. Cadell Evans absolutely stringing them out. He doesn't shirk the work, does he, Cadell Evans, even though he's world champion?
No, and you know that if the pace, if Cadell Evans is on the front and he's put his head down, you know, this is going to string them out before the climb. So we expect to see some sort of selection over the top of this climb, I would think.
Don't see how we went down, but we do see him on the floor. Never good if you look across, if you're a teammate and look across and see one of your friends on the floor. That's not a nice feeling, is it?
No, I mean, sometimes it looks worse than you think because they've actually just winded themselves, yeah. And you just want to stay still, you don't want to move, but he looks as though he might be okay.
Evans in the middle in the World Championship jersey for BMC, this new Swiss-American team really. Gasparotto comes to the front for Astana. Very good rider, Gasparotto. Seems to have more freedom, certainly having more success. Now he's moved to Astana, he's moved away from established teams in Italy. Different atmosphere, maybe bringing him back to form. Good all-round rider. We were mentioning him yesterday, actually, saying that he and Visconti are similar type of riders. Visconti probably slightly more aggressive, actually, than Gasparotto. Andy Schleck in the Luxembourg Champions jersey now moved to the front.
Yeah,
Gilbert.
He's not really forcing the pace, is he? He's more, he's being a little bit cautious at the moment, just covering all the moves.
Here we go. It's back on Soleil. You're just pushing on the pace a little bit.
So I was just thinking the same thing. Mercato. Good little attack. This is when it goes over the top. A little bit of plateau before another descent, and we should really sort of see that bunch spreading out now.
That's a classy move by Mercato, because it's the pace was being controlled by Andy Schleck, and it's a fairly narrow climb. Means, you know, actually chasing down is a little bit more difficult.
Frank Schleck's looking Andy Schleck's looking very comfortable, isn't he? Just covering the moves, not just not wanting to get caught out at the moment. Again, they're all looking at each other, so there's not been really the sort of split that he was possibly expecting. Still 4 climbs to go, of course, including the final climb of the Coburg.
We've had a Twitter feed coming in saying, thanks very much from The Swordsman, saying the riders I read on Twitter said it was the vehicle drivers who were alcohol tested. That makes sense. There we go. Thanks for that. It is Spokesmen Twitter feed if you want to put something on for questions or comments. Thank you.
I know what it's like with these sort of races. You do tend to get the people on the races, have a few beers in the evening, and we all know that you know, drinks the night.
there might be some riders a bit further down the peloton that get caught out a little bit there. We shall see. Marco Mercato with 20 kilometres to go. Huge ask for this man. He's, I doubt very much if he's going to stay out there.
No,
Too
I
many
don't think
vested
so.
interests.
No, I was just thinking back to that car. I mean, we did see the marshal there with the red flag just sort of waving, but he's almost really too late being around the corner. Hopefully they maybe have had somebody.
Mercato getting applauded to the crowd. It's fantastic. Look at these spectators. This is terrific. I haven't seen this big a crowd at Amstel Gold for a while, but the weather's been superb.
And we do know that the Dutch do like their cycling, don't they? So, and as I say, it's a perfect race for any British fans in the future to go out and watch the classic. It is a great one to go out and watch.
There's a lot of Belgians here as well. Oh, it's Andy Schleck on the push now.
It's a bit more serious.
That's a lot more serious. He's going to come up to the wheel of Mercato very quickly indeed at this rate. And nobody really reacting at the moment, or cannot react at the moment. The super climber that he is, Andy Schleck. Second in the Tour de France, Luxembourg national champion. Probably the more talented of the two Schleck brothers. Most people have been saying that for a long time now. Up to the rear wheel of Marco Mercato from Vacances he goes. Unsurprisingly to get up there, but I am surprised that no other riders have decided to go.
Oh, there's somebody there a little bit closer. Yeah, maybe Frank's just overjudged it a little bit. I could see a rider that was fairly close behind the motorbike.
Okay, well, let's see who's doing the following. It looks like it looks like Gilbert.
I think I was just going to say it looks like Gilbert. Maybe I think there's a Lampre rider there, whether it's Cunego or not.
One of the really big favourites, Andy Schleck, goes first. The Schlecks have got the advantage, of course, that they can soften people up by, if Andy decides to keep going and keep going and keep going and attacking, all the big favourites will have to go with him because he's such a talented rider. He could very well just ride away and win, giving Frank a little bit softer ride.
Yeah, so it does look like Cunego who's there.
Looks like Frank at the back, actually. You would suggest there's another
Vacances.
I would suggest that's Leukemans, or could be Hugeland, but I can't see yet. But Leukemans is in such good condition at the moment, you would have expected him to be the man.
And there's certainly been some damage done though by that attack by Andy Schleck.
As you'd expect. What would be going through your mind if you were riding up towards the front and Andy went off the front, Graham? Would you say, well, let's see how quickly he gets away, or shall we just jump on him?
I don't think you let him get away. I think you've got to actually be jumped on him straight away. I know we can see that these riders, you know, obviously the strong men of the race now reacted quickly. I mean, it did look like he was going well clear, didn't he? But it's probably a little bit tougher climb than maybe anticipated, and he couldn't open the gap. But we've got a selection, that's the main thing.
Yep, it's Kruziger coming across the gap. Nibali looks like the other rider from Liquigas here in the lime green. At the back here is Nibali, and then at the front is Kruziger. No Rabobanks, I thought. Didn't see any Rabobanks in the front at all. Is that Helsinki is going across there? I'm not quite sure. And one of the Katusha riders now has made a move. It's not Pozzato, and it's not, I don't think, it looks like Kolobnev to me. Here, for Katusha. Looks like those ultra sculpted thighs and calves of Alexander Kolobnev. It might not be, but we'll just have to check. very, very difficult to tell who's who on this particular ascent and descent because the road is so narrow. But I can tell you, Vincenzo Nibali is the man at the back here for Liquigas. The other Liquigas riding the lime green is Roman Kreuziger. It is Alexander Kolobnev from Russia in the Katusha outfit, second from last. Frantic chase on then by some of the other riders with 17 kilometers to go. The attack instigated by Andy Schleck and followed up, it looks to be, by Philippe Gilbert from the Omega Pharma Lotto squad. Here we are then. It's Andy Schleck in this group. I think Frank Schleck is also in this group as well. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't. Looks like they're going to get back on here.
Yeah, the gap's not as big as I thought.
Nope.
Maybe the descent made it look a little bit bigger than it originally looked, so we may see a little bit more of a regroupment here and a fresh attack. Just coming up to, we've got the Fromberg next.
There is Frank Schleck at the front now. That looks like Hugeland. We'll just see in a second. Two of the riders from Vacansoleil pushing on again.
Yeah, they're looking at each other behind there. They've not made the actual selection that they thought that we thought might have happened. So we expect to see more attacks on the next climb.
Fromberg.
I think they're on it already.
Here they come. We're really running into the last 16 kilometers now, as you can see on the left-hand side, and Andy Schleck pushing again. Hard. He's got to Roman Kreuziger, the Czech rider, behind him. He's looking in awesome form, actually, Kreuziger. That's the best I've seen him looking in response to something for a long time. Then Philippe Gilbert in the white jersey, blue helmet of Omega Pharma. Who else have we got in this group here? Alexander Kolobnev, Frank Schleck now doing the softening up job in the front. Gilbert covering everything. The Lamprey rider looks an awful lot, style looks a little bit like Kunigo. I'm not sure it is though, actually. Need to double check that and get a clear shot. Yes, it is.
Sure
yes, it is.
I think he had a different colour bike than everybody.
There goes Kunigo now.
Nothing really happening. It's all a little bit hesitant at the moment. They're all looking at each other. The Schlecks have obviously done the damage. Gilbert's looking very strong.
He's looking strong, but I'm a little bit concerned that he wants this one. He knows there's a number of riders who aren't here. Samuel Sanchez, Alejandro Valverde, people who could have challenged for today. Not only a couple, obviously out of the way, but he's getting a bit of a softening up, I think. There's 2 or 3 riders giving him a duffing over. But the Schlecks in particular. Kolobnev looking good. Very Organov. Well, this is interesting. Kunigo, Frank Schleck, Philippe Gilbert at the front. There's one more rider in this group, and I can't see who it is at the moment. Is it Andy Schleck? No. It's one of the Vacansoleil boys, is it? It's difficult to tell, actually. No, it's sorry, it's Kolobnev. 4 riders. Well, that's a great attack by Damiano Cunego, and Philippe Gilbert responded to it. Frank Schlick, who's got up onto the wheel in the black and white of Saxo-Bank. And right at the back, Alexander Kolobnev of Russia. I think he's a great rider. I think he's due a big one too. He's always there or thereabouts, and certainly not the sort of rider you'd let get away. And the chase down work is being done by Evans.
He's still there after all that sort of lead out before that other climb. He's still there and doing a lot of work to close this down. And I think this gap is probably not going to go anywhere. I still think there's a little bit of hesitancy in that front group. It's not quite the right mix.
Yes, very good job getting 2 riders in there. Looks like Garmin Transitions have got a rider back
Ivanov's
up there.
still there.
Moving up. Don't discount any of these.
Oscar's still there as well by the looks of it.
Oscar Freire there in the middle of your shot in the blue and orange. Don't discount. Going to be the Coburg that really is the defining moment. Look, they've eased up in the front here, Graham.
Yeah, I think it's all going to be on somebody who might, as we've seen in the past, somebody who just sneaks away in the last few kilometres before the Coburg and then maybe hangs on. Or we might see quite a large group come into Valkenburg at the bottom of the climb to Coburg. So we could yet see, well, not quite a bunch sprint, but a you know, group of 25, 30 riders hit the final climb.
Oh, my word!
Ivanov, I think, wasn't it?
Looked like it, doing a bit of cyclocross, just about keeping his bike going there. Sergei Ivanov looks over his shoulder. Winner last year, the Russian national champion, hence the outfit. Bit of an odd place to push it on. Maybe he feels that he can try and get rid of some of the big favourites. There are people in trouble. I think he fears riders like Robert Hessink if they manage to get to the finish.
Yeah, look, Hessink wasn't looking too comfortable there.
Nope. If you can kill him off now, why not? Oh, he's going for it.
This is the sort of guy, though, once he gets a bit of a gap and a bit of hesitancy behind, if they look at each other, you never know.
Evans for Gilbert once again chasing. Well, I tell you what, Gilbert's going to have to be super strong because this is the 3rd time he's had to chase on.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of work. Maybe he just might dispense a little bit too much energy. I still think just behind there, they're not too far behind, but they are doing, and everybody's looking at each other about who's going to take up the chase.
Or is it Evans? Well, I thought it was Gilbert coming across. Let's have a look. Well, we can see Ivanov. Must be Evans then.
No, I don't think I think that's another further back. It's still at the back, Gilbert. But it's,
yes, it is Gilbert. Well, Sergei, I wouldn't expect Philippe to give you much of a hand at the moment. Well, he has. He's got straight to the front. Wow, he's strong.
Yeah, still not much of a gap there. It's probably less 6 or 7 seconds at the moment.
And that is not Gilbert. My apologies, that is not Gilbert. That looks like Van den Broek. And I think he's been sent up there to do the sitting on, by the look of it. We're on the Keutenberg. This is the penultimate climb of the day. That is Jürgen van den Broek who's got up there.
And that's Evans.
And there's Cadel Evans coming across. So our apologies. We expected it to be Philippe Gilbert, and we were saying he's done an awful lot of work already. And he'd have to be super strong. Well, that gives you one answer. He's not bothered this time around. He's got somebody else to do it. Ivanov pushing on. Look at that. Look at that. That's a stinging little attack. Twiddling a little gear, really going for it. The others labouring under a bigger cog. Sergei Ivanov has decided he's going to really push hard now.
That is a hell of a move, really, when you think he was just away and then got caught by first Van den Broek and then Evans, but they've not been able to follow him, and this just could be the move.
Right at the back, pushing real hard. Bram tanking. So there's still some non-climbers up in this group. Well, I'm not sure Ivanov is going to be able to get away. He's nailed his colours to the mast. And now Philippe Gilbert is making a move. I think he knows that Jurgen van den Broek is trying hard to get up to him. I think he's going to as well. Look, even off on the steepest part of the climb, twiddles a little gear and gets away. And Jurgen van den Broek has put his head down in the bigger gear. Goes over the top. Kunigo, Frank Schleck, Kolobnev.
It's the same guys, isn't it, we've seen for the last few kilometres. They are the strongest guys who've just not quite got it together.
Who is the Garmin rider? Just so difficult to tell. It looked a bit like Ryder Heizedal going over the top. Evans did that work early on. He's being distanced by a group of riders, including Kunigo, Frank Schleck, who are chasing on after Sergei Ivanov. He's just going to hang in there, hang in there. I don't think he's got it. It's looks like the day is run for him. Philippe Gilbert now. Right at the front. Have they caught Ivanov? Yes, they have. They've caught Ivanov, and now Gilbert is kicking on. Maybe he thinks that Ivanov has spent all his powder.
Yeah, well, he's had a few good digs there, and he didn't quite get the gap that he needed, and he's actually now with people who are probably going to be maybe quicker than him on the final climb up to the Coburg in Cunego. So but it's a very strong move. Frank Schleck not interested in doing too much work and more looking behind to see who's coming up behind.
Classy move by Kolobnev. Look, Kolobnev looks over his shoulder to see if Ivanov can stay with him and watches Frank Schleck accelerate, and Kolobnev's gone with him. He's got his own agenda here. And Sergei Ivanov, the Russian champion, at the back here, wearing the #1 from last year's winner in the Amstel Gold Races, got himself onto the wheel of Damiano Cunego, but it was difficult.
Yeah, you can see behind now it has really splintered into several groups, riders on their own and little groups of 2s and 3s. Race full on now, but I do think that the winner's probably going to come from those riders in the front.
Looking that way at the moment. Johnny Hugeland is the rider you've just passed from Vacansoleil. Gilbert, oh, look at the gap he's got now. With 9 kilometers to go, Philippe Gilbert is riding away. Has he got it in the legs? Can they get to work together to bring him back? They're going to surely have to.
That's got to be the key question, is whether they're going to cooperate in the chase. And at the moment, they do look like they are cooperating. Even Frank Schleck maybe is looking behind and thinking that I don't need to work with these, because if I get to the bottom of the Coburg, that I'm going to get beaten by the riders like Cunego and Kolobnev.
Well, until Gilbert gets too big an advantage, then
still 6 seconds.
Work. Yeah, 6 seconds is the gap.
Frank Schleck they're still working, so they are going to. It's going to be very difficult for Gilbert, unless he can get a bit more of a gap, maybe 15 seconds by the bottom of the Coburg. It's going to be very difficult for him to stay away.
Yeah, even then it could be difficult if somebody really goes hard on it. Last year, it was interesting that this year.
Het is toch wat de taal, hè? Is lekker. Marcato. Freire, Mascar. Ineens daar. Is ik ineens. Nice starting. Hier, Roets. Weg, man.
Interesting set of tactics by Katusha. Is it a deliberate policy here, Graham, to just try and work the others over? Or
I think Kolobnev he's just feeling good, and he's obviously looking at trying to win this race. I think he's seen the others, and as I just said, with the fact that these five, there's going to be a little bit of tactics involved about who's going to chase, and you know, all it takes is at this stage of the race is for one rider to make the right move, and they hesitate behind, and suddenly he's got 15-20 seconds, and the race is all over.
Tegen de stand daar dus. Later vanavond wordt nog gespeeld tegen Hertha BSC. Terug dan naar de Amstel.
Klaar, hè?
Dat gaat dichtrijden van het viertal favorieten dat erachter zit. Wordt het dan Gilbert, Cornelius, Lek of Ivanov? Want Kolobnev nog altijd op voorsprong. En dat is
de Dam.
I'm pretty certain he was. Is going to have to do a bit more work here.
Well, certainly, I would think he's possibly got the most to gain out of this group, having won the race, you know, a couple of years ago, and should it's finished. We do know does suit him.
Yasinka is doing his bit on the front now. They don't like the camera bike here.
Yeah, well, Andy Schleck is actually saying the camera's too close, so you're pacing back this group. You know, I've got my brother in front, and he's doing his utmost to make sure that motorbike gets out of the way.
Paredo is in this group I've just seen for Quick Step. He's the only Quick Step man I've seen up there. Kolobnev's pushing on. Oh, I wouldn't want to give this man much more gap than this. Alexander Kolobnev. First really came to prominence when he won a stage in Paris-Nice, what, 3 years ago? Absolutely ripped most of the time. Here he is. 7 kilometers to go. That beautiful day here at Amstel Gold is going to make hay while the sun shines. Maybe a bit early in the season for that, but it's Kolobnev's got a decent gap now here. Alexander Kolobnev of Katusha is the man out by himself at the moment. There's a little bit of hesitation. Of course, Sergei Ivanov, the Russian champion, is just going to sit on the back. A fellow Russian and teammate is up ahead. The winner last year, Ivanov, is still in with a shout if the rest of them hunt him down.
Well, that's the idea, isn't it? Now, once you get to this sort of position, that's the strength in having, you know, more than one rider in the breakaway group, and they're in a very good position at the moment, and the gap's still not growing enough for my mind. I think it's probably still less than 10 seconds. I thought we've just seen it's 9 seconds to that second group.
Chris Horner in this group for Radio Shack. Good on him. Nice to see him in there. Karsten Krohn is in this group as well, second last year. He's trying desperately to move up. Krohn riding for BMC in the dark red. There's Cadel Evans still sitting on the back here.
Ah, il passato, ja.
Hesitation by that group behind, and to start looking at each other, and the gap will suddenly grow.
completely committed though now. Alexander Kolobnev is just got to get in there and dig in. This is the chasing group. It's Kunago's at the front. Schleck just sitting behind. Now comes through to do some work. Gilbert doesn't go to the front yet. I'm not surprised. He's done a lot of work already. He will have to take some turns though. And right at the back, Sergei Ivanov, the race winner of last year in the Russian Champions jersey. At the back of this group, this is the second group on the right.
At this time of the year, I think Cadel Evans this year will be looking at the Tour de France. I think he really wants to make amends for the Tour of last year, so I think he's probably not anywhere near like tip-top condition.
Impressive ride by Katusha.
Yeah, well, we talk about them having such a strong team.
Koesiger, the taller of the two riders, and absolutely flying here, looking as though they're getting across towards Alexander Kolobnev. That is a serious piece of downhill pedaling. On your right-hand screen, Liquigas chasing on after Katusha. No fear at all.
I think it's about 10 seconds. It's going to be very difficult for Kolobnev to stay away from this group now.
Not for the faint-hearted. This racing.
Still there. Ivanov's still well placed.
Yeah, he is third now. But this group knows that everybody's going to track them down. Alexander Kolobnev.
Graphics guy's gone mad. It's gone back up to 4 kilometers now. So.
Forget that. Just let's wait for the incline.
Yeah, well, pretty soon we're in the town of Valkenburg now. I reckon there's 2.5 kilometers to go.
And we've used it in the Tour as well. Kolobnev's completely and utterly committed now. He's in the big ring, has been in the big ring for such a long time.
Yeah, they're very close behind him. I'll be amazed if he's still got 10 seconds, but Ivanov there's doing as much as he can to try and slow this group down.
Yep. Hesink comes to the front. The Dutchman wants this one. He was third last year. He wants to make it different this time around, but you know, the more he pushes on at the front, the less chance he's got of I know he has to shut down the gap on Kolobnev, the less chance he's got of winning. He instigated the attack last year. He just ran out of steam. If this is what Ivanov wants, because this is exactly what happened with last year. Good, I've got to say, for Sergei Ivanov at the moment, because he's now being dragged along by Robert Hesink, who really wants to win for the Dutchman. Oh, look, he's got. Who is he working for then, I wonder?
Don't know.
Oscar Freire, maybe, who's still in this group.
Could still be there.
Yeah. Hesink really dragging things along. Gilbert once again being forced to do this. Roman Koesiger in the lime green just behind him. We're going through the center of the town of Valkenburg now. And Alexander Kolobnev is going to come under the 1 kilometer to go banner very shortly. Here he is, and now it just ramps up.
This is going to hurt.
Oh, what's going through his mind at this particular point?
He's just going to keep his head down and keep going. But he's, yeah, I think he's even got 5 seconds now. I think it's going to be very, very, very difficult for him to stay. In fact, I think almost impossible. I have to wonder if Andy Schleck still got it in the legs there. He's been looking comfortable over the last 20 or 30 kilometers. Just look at the crowd.
Fabulous, absolutely wonderful crowd, massive. Alexander Kolobnev, oh, they're right behind him. Kolobnev digs in, they're going to catch him. It's Philippe Gilbert who's doing all the work to track him down. They've got, what, 700 meters to go. And coming up behind him, it looks like Carlos Barredo. Barredo of Quick Step. Pushing hard to get up there. It's Gilbert's going to track him down as well. Cunego is on his wheel. Is that Gasparotto in there? Surely not. Yes, it is Enrico Gasparotto of Astana. Roman Koisinger is up here as well. Andy Schleck gritting his teeth. He's a long way back.
Andy Schleck didn't look comfortable there at all.
Lambau credit now get to the front. That's good for the favourites. Really pushing hard now. Looks like Gilbert's in really good condition at the moment. He's in the right position as well. He's being towed up towards the top. A Belgian team has towed a Belgian towards the front. It looks like it's going to be Philippe Gilbert who's going to take this. Nobody's responding. Gilbert, the Wallon, is going to take this one. It's not his home one, but it's near enough. We are in the end of the classic season. And Philippe Gilbert... Fabulous finish by Philippe Gilbert. Enrico Gasparotto of Astana, and I think it's Heijendal of Garmin. It's a fabulous finish by them as well. But all the favourites absolutely strung out down this climb. Horner finishes. Evans finishes. There is Freire once
Even
again.
off, yeah, Andy Schleck there just off the back. Yeah, it did look like he was suffering at the bottom of that climb.
Chavanel comes over the line now. Well, that is fabulous.
Well, he did look fantastic, didn't he, over those last... he was covering nearly all the moves. There's Leo Van Vliet, an old friend of mine, the race director.
Van Vliet is a good job with Amstel goal over the last few years. That's a terrific win for Philippe Gilbert. He's in super form. That was such a strong attack in the last 500 metres. What a brilliant win. Enrico Gasparotto congratulates Philippe Gilbert.
This is where sometimes it annoys me at the end of these races. I know people are doing their jobs, but they're almost just, you know, his own teammate can't even get to him, you know, with the security to sort of like congratulate him.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not coming in here, son.
Yeah.
Philippe Gilbert, gefeliciteerd. Ja, wat een machtige sprint op de Kouberg.
Ja, gemakkelijk.
Machtig bedoel ik.
How's your Flemish?
Ja, dat was mooi.
It's sort of not too bad. I can understand a few.
Ja, tot de laatste 60 kilometer. Ik heb niks gedaan. Gewoon blijven in het peloton. En dan, ik heb alles gegeven in de laatste 40 kilometer.
Just to give everything. Yeah, had to give everything in the last few kilometers.
Ik heb even wachten, omdat het was 4 man achter mij. En ik denk dat was de beste beslissing. Ik kan in de afdaling nog herstellen voor de sprint. En dan ik was
just had to get himself in the right place
op de kop op 500 meter.
For the sprint.
En dan ik heb wachten tot 3,50. En dan alles geven zoals vorig jaar. Ik won nog de sprint hier.
And then I just had to give everything for the sprint.
Voor de overwinning. Dat is
you're totally committed at that point. I've got to say, actually, though, he got a terrific lead out.